Welcome to Misplaced Musings, the podcast where you learn not to run in the hallway with scissors. This is your host, Shannon, along with their co-host,
Brian Cowan. And I mean, if you want to catch and murder the main character, you would run in the hallway with scissors.
True, but you got to be careful not to cut yourself. Well, then
I,
again, when they're the size of a person, it's probably hard to do.
yeah, and I mean, I never saw a scissor man fall and murder themselves or anything.
True, they did not. They got taken care of in a much different way. But as everybody probably figured out, today the game club is Clocktower, which is a wonderful little game for the Super Nintendo. But before
Super Famicom, my friend.
True. Super Famicom. It did never come out for the Super Nintendo. You
True,
got
that's it.
me.
You're not even gonna resist. No, yeah. Famously not released in America, despite the fact that it was a commercial success. So
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
never got a Super Nintendo version.
No, we did not. We did get the sequel, which was just named Clock Tower, which confused a lot of people, but we'll get into that a little bit later. To start off, let's go ahead and just get into what we've been playing like normal. Before I go on my giant list of things that I play, because I apparently have no life, what about you, Brian? What have you been getting into?
These segments are going to be pretty boring going forward, I feel like, because my answer is Clock Tower. Um, I finished Tachia or whatever like last week after we recorded the last episode. And since then, the only thing I've played is Clock Tower. So, yeah, Clock Tower.
Fair enough. Clock Tower is pretty good. We'll go into that a little bit more as we get in.
What 15 different games have you played?
All right. So, starting alphabetically, we've got Against the Storm. And that's pretty fun. Against the Storm is a kind of roguelike, kind of not city building game where you have to succeed in various tasks while building up your city before the queen gets angry at you.
So is it a roguelite? Like
There's a lot of RNG of like when you pick a location, what kind of race of people are going to be there, what the glade is going to look like, what the little areas that you have to clear out looks like. But there is a world map that doesn't change a lot, and the goal doesn't change, so it's pretty much like part roguelite, where when you start, there's a little bit of randomness in the map, but it isn't like if you die, you lose everything type of deal.
okay. Well, it sounds fun. I like when they combine like we're used to seeing RPGs get combined with other genres. I like when rogue stuff gets combined with other genres.
Yeah, and I love city builders that are just like about making a cool place to live. I love RTSs where you murder people, but I also enjoy just making a nice little comfy place to be. And the aesthetic in this game, even though there's a lot of like mystical darkness happening, it's just very comfy. There's rain always going on because
I'm
there's a
actually surprised that you
storm.
build comfy places in city builders. I would have pegged you as like a police state type guy.
Okay, so you don't get the choice in this one.
Oh, okay. So in like a Sim City, are you running like a socialist dictatorship?
In SimCity, what I used to do is I would build it up, and then the moment like a bunch of people got rich, and there were like a couple places that had more money, I would send a natural disaster there.
Ah, so you played God. Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing when you're playing city builders. You're
No, I'm
playing
a
a
mayor, man. I'm Mayor Brian. Okay, that's what the game says.
Mayor
And mayors, we
Brian.
all know mayors plan city layouts and constructions and demolitions. That's all. They're that hands on.
That's true. That is absolutely true. But I've been playing Against the Storm, like I said. I've been playing more Pizza Tower, which I'm not going to get into because I already gushed about it. I've been playing Blaze Blue Centrifiction again for some reason.
Is that one of the fighting ones or one of the visual novel ones?
It's the last fighting game one that they released.
Ah, okay.
And those games are degenerate. They're just absolutely degenerate, and I love it. And the combos are huge and have like one frame dash forward links and stuff. It's great. The It's like watching a movie when you get hit sometimes. You just gotta
When
Gotta
I think
take
of
it.
things like Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue and like stuff like that, I think of, to me, they're like the fighting game equivalent of like the way RPG fans treat things like the Tells series. Like, it's not Street Fighter and it's not Tekken and it's not Mortal Kombat. It's this, oh, you would hate that. It's this B tier fighter.
Um, it's closer to like, because I want to say
I know y'all have
for
that name or that word in fighting games for like trash games or
oh,
whatever, but
it's not a kusoge, not at all. Yeah, it's one of the top three. It's like Street Fighter and then Mortal Kombat and then Arc System games. As
what
far
about
as like
Tekken, man?
sales,
What you gonna say?
that you don't put 3D and 2D together. You don't do that. It's
You what?
there's a line. There's a line.
Well, Mortal Kombat's 3D though, man.
No, it's a 2D game. It's a 2D game. It's
What
got
about the what
3D
about the 3D
models.
Mortal Kombats?
We don't talk about those
Oh, okay, okay.
unless you feel like getting infinited over and over again by the same move 4 times in a row. Those games are busted. They're so busted. Anyway, before I lose track and start just talking about fighting games a whole bunch, I've played those, and I've been playing Fire Emblem Three Fates, which is the Muso of the second Muso game for Fire Emblem. That's based around the Three Houses property, and it just reminded me of a couple things. The one of the main reasons I didn't like Three Houses is the map sucked. So if you give me the characters and some of the same storytelling beats and just make it so I'm playing a Muso instead, I enjoy it. And also the character designs are not as good as Engage. Fight me. I don't care if you like the little depressed girl that stays in her room and doesn't ever leave and has character growth kind of sort of. They're just not as fun. They're not as enjoyable.
I will not fight you because I do not care.
That's 100% an option. And that's actually it. I haven't been playing a whole bunch of stuff. I just got a big list of PS2 games that I'm probably going to start playing around with that seem really fun.
Hey, no, you watch it. I saw that list. Like, some of those are in the game club. You can't play them. I'm sorry,
Wait, why? Why can't I?
because then you would have to replay them.
Oh, true. We'll go over the list so you can tell me what not to play. That's fine. and
Yeah, because you don't
that.
want to, like, if you played one this week, by your rules, because you said you have to play it fresh, right? So
Mhm.
if you played one this week and then 2 weeks from now, one of them you'd have to immediately replay it. And what if
True.
it's not a fun game?
What if it's Gotcha Force?
Oh God,
So that's it. That's for what I've been playing. It actually isn't as large as normal. I'm going through the process of moving, so I don't have as much time as I
I
typically
love
do.
how you played like 5 games in a week, and you're like, this is tiny. This is not very many games.
Well, I don't watch videos or TV or anything. I read and play video games. So a lot of the time that people spend scrolling through YouTube videos, I spend playing a game or reading something usually.
Well, I also admire your ability to hop between games, because even when I'm consistently playing games, I tend to play one game until I am either tired of it or I beat it, and then I play another. I don't like play multiple games in the same period.
Hmm. That makes sense. Part of it is probably due to my ADHD and how it forms in me as a person. Because I'll be really into something for like 10 hours or whatever, and then I'll start to lose focus, so I'll switch to something else.
Hmm, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's how it works. I mean, sometimes I get the bug. I beat Engage in like 5 days, and that was 10 hours a day playing. So it just depends on the mood I'm in. Super Robot Wars 30, I also almost beat in a week, and that was putting 65 hours into it. So it's not healthy, but it does help me beat games. But speaking of beating games, we had that experience with Clocktower, so let's get right into it, Brian.
Okay. So I guess we should tell them a little bit about the game in case they've never heard of it or, don't know much about it, which is likely. So Clock Tower came out in 1995, right?
Yes.
Yes, for the Super Famicom. It's a lot of people, when they think of like the origins of the survival horror genre, they tend to think of like Alone in the Dark or Resident Evil. Um, but I think this had an influence there too, especially with like the stalker trope, even though it borrowed it from movies. But
Yeah,
um, but yeah, it was and it was made by I had this written down.
human
You're actually supposed to be
entertainment.
doing that. Yeah, human. You know what? I'm going to defer to you because you actually do know a lot more about this game than I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's made by Human Entertainment. Rest in peace. And they decided to make this game. The creator of it, who is Hifumi Kono, they actually wanted to use this game to be like kind of a love letter to the movie Phenomena by Dario Argento, to the point of where the main character's name is Jennifer, and the main character of the movie is Jennifer Corvino. So Jennifer Simpson, and here is a pretty much, if you look at the two characters, almost a 1-to-1. It's very very obvious that they wanted to make this a love letter to that movie.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of nods to like Italian horror in this game.
Yeah, there absolutely is, and as there should be, because despite what people like to say about Black Christmas, Italians made the slasher film, and that's that. You can fight me. I have evidence. It came out a whole year before they even thought about that.
Yeah, but Americans don't watch Italian movies, and we're the only people that count.
Listen, Torso is awesome, and people should watch Torso if they're okay with subtitles. It's,
It is awesome.
yeah, and that's the whole concept, is making a kind of like a horror, cerebral horror movie into a game. And part of what makes Clocktower so wonderful, in my opinion, is it was an experiment. And you can easily tell that it was an experiment because it was a point and click adventure game on the Super Nintendo in 1995. And as most people know from that game Draken, that doesn't always work well.
Yeah. In fact, I'll be completely honest. I didn't know this was a point and click adventure. I had seen it before, like a lot, in like screenshots, and I assumed it was like a 2D side scroller, which I mean, it kind of is, but it's a 2D side scroller with point and click movement, which I took some getting used to.
Yeah, it does take a little getting used to the systems, and they do work, and it's pretty impressive for the Super Nintendo, in my opinion. But it obviously is there's some jank there. There's some stuff you got to deal with.
Those goddamn stairs.
All the stairs, yeah,
Takes like 16 years to walk up and down a flight of stairs.
and then you get caught because you accidentally go up the stairs again, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. It also took me longer than I care to admit to figure out how to get her to run. Um,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
just take that stuff for granted because I played this so much that
yeah. And this was
yeah.
before people also take controls these days have mostly been like homogenized.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't take much to play one game and then play another game because pretty much all games use the same inputs now. But this was before that, and this game does not control like any other Super Nintendo game I've played.
No, you have to use like L and R to do a bunch of stuff and mash buttons, and it doesn't tell you to mash. But we'll get more into that when we go a little bit further into gameplay.
But
Uh, before
as
oh sorry, go
far
ahead.
as just continuing the description a little bit, I just wanted to touch on this is a beautiful game. Like really pretty 2D like sprite work.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and the mansion was actually designed within like a quote unquote 3D space, and then they filled it in with the two dimensional sprite work and everything.
Huh. I did not
And
know that.
part of it is it had kind of a troubled development. And by troubled, it's not like really difficult, but what happened is they heard Kono's idea and we're like, nobody wants to play a game where you're running away the whole time. Really funny to hear in the year of 2023 with stuff like Slender Man and Five Nights and stuff, where the whole point is just surviving, being super popular, right?
If this game had come out, if Twitch had existed back then, this game would have surely been an American success.
Would have taken off. So they're like, okay, we'll give you not a lot of money and not a lot of people. And he still worked on it. They were going to try and have mouse support, but couldn't because they didn't have enough people to work on it. And it was also supposed to be a larger game, but they shrunk it down. And I actually think that's a strength.
Yeah, this game is pretty. That's actually surprising to me because it's pretty big. Like the mansion's like fairly large or larger than I expected.
It does feel like you have a lot to look at. And you were talking about the sprites looking good. Part of how they made everybody move the way they did is they digitized photographs of people for a lot of it.
I
And
could see that.
for example, the actress of Jennifer was actually part of Humans Planning Division, and a lot of the emotions in the game came from her running around or hanging on a roof and stumbling, stuff like that.
I would like to see the what they used for Scissor Man.
Good old Bobby.
They grabbed a child off the street and gave him a big pair of scissors and were like, "We're gonna digitize you."
Pooh! That's I always think when I hear that, like we're digitizing this person, I always think of that Willy Wonka moment with Mike TV being small and being
Ah,
teleported.
I tend to think of like Tron.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Tron's a good one too. So getting more into the game proper.
Which this one's going to be kind of weird to talk about the story because, in case people don't know, one of the other big things about this game, is that it has a non-linear story.
Absolutely, with endings that go all the way to H. I want to say
I think there's like 9. What letters H? I
H
know
is
that.
8.
Yeah, I think there's 9. I read somewhere that there were 9.
Okay,
I
so
have not seen them all.
there are there are 8 that have letters to them: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. There are 2 endings that you can get using a glitch that kind of change the endings of G and H. Um, so there's some weird stuff you can do. But for the Super Nintendo version, I'm pretty sure there's only 8, unless H is 9 and I just can't count, but I'm pretty sure it's 8. And I think First Fear, which is the PlayStation 1 port, might have added an ending. I need to double check that to make sure. But from this point forward, I'm probably going to start just calling it First Fear, because for all of our listeners, I did talk about a little bit how the bringing it over caused a problem. So we never got the first game, but for some reason they thought the second game would do well. So they brought that over for the PlayStation and they just named it Clocktower.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the games, if you just say Clocktower, somebody might get confused. So people call the first game the First Fear, which is the PlayStation port subtitle on it.
Enhanced remake thing. It has like I guess it would be a remake because it doesn't have like 3D graphics and it's more than just a port, right?
Yeah, they add some graphics and touch ups and stuff.
It's somewhere between a
Yeah,
remaster and a remake, but
somewhere in there. But going into the story, the game starts, as we said, your main character's name is Jennifer. So you have Jennifer
Jennifer
Simpson.
Simpson, yeah, the very generic white name.
Yes. And you're an orphan and you come from Granite Orphanage. And I think it's in Norway. Yeah,
Ah,
Romsdalen. I'm sorry, I don't speak that language, but yeah, so in Romsdalen, Norway, and you are there with your buddies Lot, Anne, and Laura. Don't get too attached, by the way.
yeah,
And they're adopted in September 14th, 1995. Hey, look at that when the game came out. By a wealthy individual named Simon Barrows. Also, don't even bother thinking you'll ever see Simon.
yeah. I was wondering about that. Like, yeah,
Yeah, so they get brought to the mansion by Mary Barrows, and the mansion has a nickname as the Clock Tower because it has a giant clock tower in it. Hence the name of the game series. So the game starts with you going to the mansion with your buddies and Mary. And why don't you take away the opening scene, Brian? Since you're kind of new to it, I wanted to see what your like opinion of that whole sequence is.
Like, okay, so as you said, you come up and it's the initial parts are done in a like a cut scene, the Super Nintendo equivalent of a cut scene. So a static image and text, and it shows Mary, our car driving up, and you and Mary get out, and she proceeds to walk you up to the um, orphanage, I guess, the mansion. We'll call it the mansion.
Mhm.
And then yeah, you're in the before you know it, you're in the what would you call that room? Uh,
Is it a foyer or is it?
yeah, the the entrance room,
Yeah,
the
like
waiting room.
the waiting room. Like yeah, mansions have like those guest rooms for when people first walk in because rich people. So yeah, that's what it is. It's like a
And
waiting room type deal.
so and then Mary walks off into another room. So you're left with your three friends, and this is I guess this is intended to be where you familiarize yourself with the game's controls, because you have to go and like, speak to your four friends. And then you get little blurbs from each of them, and then all of a sudden everybody's curious, hey, Miss Mary hasn't come back, somebody should go find her. And you being the protagonist, that's you. And so you go look for her, and again, it's a you said there's some RNG to this game, some randomness. I haven't played it enough to really see that, so this is just going off the limited stuff that I've seen in my playthroughs. But uh I'd exit the room to go look for her, and then you would hear a blood curdling scream. uh
Yes.
like probably the best scream I've heard produced by the Super Nintendo. um and this prompts you to run back to check on your friends, and then oh, they're gone and the room is dark. And that is the intro. It's not like there's any kind of transition, like you're just in it from that point. Like you need to go find your friends, you need to figure out what's going on. And as we said, it's non-linear and there are multiple paths to take. So from that point, you can try to exit back out the front of the mansion. You can go upstairs. There's like two other doors you can go through, and where you go kind of determines what's going to happen next. um I will kind of let you have apparently gotten the better ending.
Yeah, the quote unquote better ending, the one where more people are alive. That's the S ending. And I oh, that's right. There is nine because there's the S ending. You're right. There we
Yeah,
go.
trying to gaslight me.
I was gaslighting myself, man. But yeah, the way it happens is you find one of two people dead. So when you go back in the beginning, you find either Laura or Anne killed. Laura's corpse is going to be either in the bathtub, which is where I found her the first time,
Yeah, hanging from like the shower head.
hanging from the shower head, and then Scissorman pops out of
Yeah,
the bathtub.
when you find the whatever
Yeah,
body you find, this is your introduction to the one of the antagonists, the you
yeah,
iconic Scissor Man.
yeah. The one that everybody knows Clock Tower for, a very small looking person with giant scissors. That's very strong.
Which I'm gonna assume he's inspired by that scene from The Exorcist. I think it's The Exorcist 2, where dude murks a nurse with a giant pair of scissors.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy line to draw. I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that that's a bad idea.
This game takes a lot of or has a lot of nods to stuff like that. Like I know one of the death scenes that I saw, one of these first two, was Scissor Man killing one of your friends by dropping them through the skylight, basically.
Yeah, so that's Anne. She
And
dies
that
by getting stabbed through a stained glass ceiling.
yeah, and that
Yeah.
scene is like a recreation of a scene from the movie Suspiria. Um, Same colored glass and everything, so really cool.
It is also
Uh,
badass to see too. Like it's animated so well.
yes. I didn't actually get to see the shower scene. I mean, I've seen it in a YouTube, but none of my playthroughs.
Okay, yeah, that's for if you find Laura first. You can also find Laura in a suit of armor in the second living room if you click on it. And then what happens is the helmet falls off and there she is. And Anne can die either by being impaled through the ceiling or drowning in a pool.
Yeah, the drowning in the pool one I saw, and my whole thought there is like you come up on the pool, it's dark, it's outside, and she's coming above water, struggling for a few moments, and your character does nothing. And I'm like, why don't you go help your friend?
Well,
um
you would have died if you went to help the friend, so it's good that you didn't,
yeah, well,
because Scissorman pops out of the water right afterwards.
and I want to describe Scissorman real quick in case nobody's seen him, if they're just thinking, oh, it's a guy with scissors. This is basically a child with scissors.
And like
Like,
almost like a little schoolboy outfit too.
yeah. Yeah, he's basically a little like the what's his name from Resident Evil 4, Salazar. Like,
Oh
he's like a
yeah,
little old man with scissors is what he looks like. And he acts childlike. Like, one of the times he killed me, he danced.
he gets all excited. Yeah, he does enjoy doing that.
And the game does an excellent job of setting up the atmosphere, like, because this game has good music, but it is not constantly playing. There's no, like, large portions of this game, the only sound you're hearing is your character's footsteps or like doors opening. Music tends to play when Scissorman shows up or when you discover a dead body or something else significant. So when music's playing, it's a moment of tension usually.
Yeah, usually a moment of tension or a reprieve, like very twinkly, slight music that happens when you're somewhere that feels safe-ish, which isn't very many places. And they make very good use of the music. And a big part of that is like the iconic music that plays in my head when you're running away from Scissorman, which is going to be, especially the first few times you play and you don't understand what triggers him, because there are specific things that trigger him following you, like items that you look at or rooms that you enter. And until you know that, you're just going to run into him all the time. You're going to freak out. You're going to run away. And part of what makes the game so wonderful, in my opinion, is it has a wonderful opening section that really teaches you what you need, what to expect, how to move around, what your character does, how they move, what the focus is, which is just live and get the hell out. And it's very simplistic. Usually the only thing that you're actively running away from is Bobby. However, there are plenty of things that are dangerous while you're looking around if you're not careful. And this
Like
is
that bird.
oh that
That last playthrough I did actually run into the parrot that you had mentioned, and it didn't get me killed, but it freaked me out because you said it could get me killed.
yeah, so that bird, oof, I'll just get into it. While you're running away, there's a room that has important stuff in it, and in that room is a bird. It's a parrot. You can take the parrot and throw it in the cage. If you do not throw the parrot in the cage and close it, the parrot will fly around, slowly draining your strength. And the way it works
Which,
is you have
yeah, I was
a. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. Sorry, I was gonna interrupt you and just say, like, it's flying around yelling, "I'll kill you."
Yeah, it's just a little voice. I'll kill you. Just over and over again as it's flying around in a circle.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
no, it really will kill you. And it lowers your strength, which the game doesn't tell you. But when you first start, your portrait is blue, right? You have a blue background on your portrait. As you get freaked out by things happening, or attacked, or stressed, your portrait will slowly turn red. and that's how you tell what your health is. You can also do things to get away, and they're called struggle events. And you have to mash your controller and get the hell out. And that's how you can survive Bobby coming after you. You can never fight him, quote unquote.
Yeah, you
There
can
are no,
hide.
yeah, you can hide until he leaves. You can push him away and run away. I dropped a bookcase on him once. Told him get the hell out of here.
And that
But
didn't kill him?
nope, he gets right back up.
Wow.
Yeah, listen, those scissors can cut through a lot. Doors, bookcases,
People.
people. And as you're going through, you run into this parrot, and like Brian said, it's muttering, "I'll kill you," and then you throw it into the cage. If Scissorman is chasing you and you go in there and you have not covered the cage with the bedding, because you can take the comforter and throw it on the cage.
I
The
think it's a
bird,
duvet.
a duvet. Okay,
No,
you
I'm just
know
kidding. I
know
have no
more.
idea.
I'm not sure, but the bird will actually tell Scissorman where you are. In a way, it'll like fly around saying, "I'll kill you" around you, and he'll know and he'll stab through the bed. Uh, that bird is a son of a bitch. It does not like you. But as you're running through the mansion, you pick things up. It's got an adventure game style thing. You pick up keys. You can pick up ham, which
You
you
got to
have to.
move. There's environmental puzzles where you can like
Mhm.
slide boxes to get higher places to find keys and stuff.
Absolutely. My favorite thing is getting the ham by burning down cockroaches in a kitchen using, I think you do like
Oh, in the
what is it?
kitchen. No, I was thinking there was also a room with rats and another bird.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. Uh, but the ham is really important. And I know you didn't get this particular section because you get multiple ways to get into the end game area, which is where like a lot of the plot actually happens. And like you were saying, there are multiple methods to play through the game. The two ways is to either find your dad's corpse in a hidden room in the West Wing storage, where you find a memo explaining
Yeah, which I found
everything going
that.
on.
Like your
Mhm.
dad's skeleton where yeah, you bust in there, there's a skeleton in a room with a doctor's bag and your character's like uh reads the bag and I forget his first name, but the character's name's on there and the last name's Simpson and
Mhm.
she's like, "Oh my god, this is my dad's corpse."
Yeah, his
Um
name is Walter, by the way.
Walter Simpson.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and this is where you learn Mary is actually a Barrows. And what happened is that he helped Mary during her pregnancy, which is now you learn Bobby is her kid. And there's also Dan, who you learn more about a little later.
And they ate your dad's hand.
They ate your dad's hand. They were demons. Mary thought that your dad knew too much, so she killed Walter. And by killing Walter, I mean she kept him captive in the room where he helped deliver the children, and then he just died from suffocation.
Yeah.
And and that's one way to get the process going,
Which
right?
I
Is
didn't
finding out.
understand. So I just beat this today, and I got that part, and I figured out some of this stuff we'll go over. But I finished this not knowing certain things. Like I am like, wait, what? And I feel like I just missed something major because I'm like, I don't understand why they brought Jennifer here. Um, Obviously she must be significant, right? Because that's her dad. But somehow I missed whatever plot point it is that why they brought her specifically.
Well, they brought all those people from the orphanage. I think it was for sacrificial reasons.
So the fact that your dad was the doctor that delivered the babies is just a coincidence.
I believe so. I could be remembering incorrectly. It has been a while since I've actually like looked through the lore too deep, but I think that's a big part of it. And what happens with with all that can also be found. So you can find your dad's room after doing a bunch of different things and finding the secret room, right? The secret room is where your dad's body was kept. The other way is actually finding Simon, who we talked about at the beginning, Simon Barrows.
Yeah, I did not find him. I did not do that way. I found the secret room with the dad corpse. I never saw Simon Barrows.
Yeah, so if you find the secret room, he despawns. And the way to get in there is actually be poisoned by a beverage that Mary gives you, saying, "Here, this will calm you down." And it's a sleeping drink. And she puts you in a cell with Simon. And here's why the ham is important. If you find a slice of ham in the fridge, you give it to Simon when you wake up, and he eats it and gets his sanity back a little bit, and he'll explain to you what's happening, which is how you learn about the cradle under the star and all of this stuff. And the cradle under the star, by the way, is the room with Dan under the caves where the demon idol is and all of
Yeah.
the cult stuff happens. He tells you about that and how it watches Jennifer everywhere she goes. And if you found the green key, which is in the West Wing library, you can use it to get out. If not, Lot will come help you. But if Lot comes and helps you because you don't have the key, she gets shot by Mary and killed. However, if you have the key, she does not get shot. And that's a lot of what determines the deaths in Clocktower is, did you discover enough? And if not, okay, we'll give you an out, but that out is your friend's life.
Today I found Lot on a ritual circle dying was where I found Lot. Um,
Oh yeah. That's
and Lot was basically like Jennifer and then died.
yeah, that is very sad. And it's a poor Lot. She can die so many different ways. She can die in a shed, she can die on the little circle, she can get blown away by a shotgun.
One of
Oh,
them got just kicked through a window and fell like, a couple of stories. That was fun to watch.
yeah, all kinds of fun death scenes in this one. And if you don't have the ham, by the way, before I forget, Simon will just eat you. He
Rude.
You'll wake up and he's like, "I'm so hungry," and you don't have the ham, and you just see him go towards you, and the screen blacks out. You hear a crunching noise, and then you just hear the best scream in Super Nintendo history, and you're dead.
Do we know why he was in jail?
Yeah, she got her kids out of him. She didn't need him anymore, so she put him there.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, you don't learn a whole bunch about why Mary is doing what Mary is doing. It's just that it's like some cult stuff, and there are a lot of weird things going on with demons. And the issue is when you find Lot dying at the altar, like I said, it's a sacrificial death. That's why they got the kids. I think it's just they picked children that nobody would care about or they knew didn't have parents at all, and she knew your dad was dead. So,
Ah, convenient.
yeah, pretty much. Now, here's the issue, and here's what leads to different endings. If Lot dies in the shed, i.e., you go into the shed and find her, and she dies, or she gets shot by Mary, you do not learn how to kill Bobby, so you can't kill Bobby, which leads to not getting the better ending. And to get to this point, we've had to get all kinds of different objects, and here's where the RNG actually happens. You learn about the underground area from either Simon or the secret room, and then you have to get a key to get into the room that has the pentagram on the floor. And then you have to get one of two items, the demon idol or the scepter. And that spawns randomly. Which one did you get, Brian?
Um, I would have to go check. I am not sure.
Okay, but that determines the room that they spawn in and everything like that. And
I'll be honest. So over the week, I tried playing this like 3 or 4 times, and I was not doing so well. So today, I just used a guide.
guides are helpful. The
They are,
game
but I'm the kind of person like when I do use a guide, I'm not paying nearly as much attention. Unfortunately,
understood. That
I
makes
learned by
sense.
yeah, I learned by I tend to like since I'm just doing what it's telling me, some of the stuff's not sticking in my head as much. But
And probably don't pay attention to some of the plot stuff either because you're just checking off a list, right? So
yeah, I tried though. I did. I tried. This game is harder than I expected. It's fun, like it's good. I'm giving it a thumbs up. But it is not easy.
it is not. It's one of my favorite games on the system, and it's one of my favorite horror games in general. That how it feels is you're going through this manner because you're one of the people that were chosen as a sacrifice, but you're tied by fate to this family because of your father, and learning about everything and navigating running away from this child with a giant pair of scissors while not being killed by ghosts in a mansion and figuring all this out. It's I love haunted house horror. One of my favorite horror movies is Alien, and
That's not a horror movie, man.
Alien is.
It is. I'm messing with you. There was a big thing on Twitter. I think it was last year. A huge argument between people because some people don't think sci-fi movies can be horror movies.
Oh, so they're just wrong. Got it. Understood.
Agreed. But
Yeah,
um,
it's sorry. I wasn't aware of that, so I was about to go down. I was about to throw down.
yeah, no, it's a sci-fi horror movie. But some people say that the movies have to be grounded to be true horror movies.
Gravity
Um,
was on. They were grounded.
the idea was that like the element of sci-fi makes it too fantastical for it to be truly scary to the rational mind.
I see. See, I was terrified of the xenomorph, so I guess I'm not rational.
Yeah,
But
it's terrifying. Like, uh,
yeah, absolutely. And part of what I makes it so scary is it is a haunted house horror. They're in quote unquote a house, right? The space station or the ship, and they have a monster chasing them, and that's what this does so well in the genre. Like Clock Tower is a great example of that. You're just in a house running away, trying to survive. Everything's trying to kill you. The tension is very thick. Part of that is the presentation. Part of it is how slow you move. Part of it is the music that only plays on occasion. Like you said, they make very good usage of the music.
it's kind of funny you brought up Alien. A modern game that I've played that kind of felt like it had a similar gameplay loop to this was like Alien Isolation.
Oh yeah, that's true. It is very similar, except you can actually kind of damage the alien in that. You can get weaponry, which you don't really have here, except the one time you hit Mary upside the head with a plank. That was fun.
Yeah.
But what happens is you learn more about this like ancient cult. You go down underneath the mansion where there's this cave, and that's where you find Lot, where we find out that she gets killed because of the sacrifice, but she tells
Hmm.
you how to defeat Bobby because you need to activate the clock tower.
Yeah. Which I was a little
And
confused why that killed him, but
yeah, it doesn't explain a whole bunch. I think there's supplementary stuff that you can read, but
okay, because I was just like, okay, did the noise hurt his head or something? Because you're, later on, you're up on the clock tower and you turn it on and the gears all start moving, and then he's just like, and drops his scissors and falls, and I'm just like, okay. Um,
it's what kills him. It's why she didn't want the clock tower turned on.
I like how you deal with his brother.
Oh, Dan. So yeah, as you're going down, you go further into this cave, and you pop out, and you find Dan Barrows. And how would you describe Dan, Brian?
So that you ever seen Spirited Away?
I
uh,
have,
that giant baby in Spirited Away.
except
Like,
a bunch of lumps on the head.
yeah, or the no the final form of what's his face in Akira.
Oh, jeez. Is it Tetsuo?
No, he's the or is it? Maybe. I always get
Yeah,
their names mixed up, the protagonist and the antagonist.
it's Tetsuo.
Yeah, his final form where he loses control and turns into a big trash baby.
Yeah, you know what? That's not bad. That fits. I like that. Big old Tetsuo baby. So you find Dan, and then he wakes up, and this is the cradle under the star. By the way,
This
this is
caught
where
me
you find
off
him.
guard because this just immediately goes to you're in danger.
Yep, and you have to run. And so what happens is you climb over a steep cliff, but Jennifer accidentally knocks down a can of kerosene, which catches on a candle and explodes and kills Dan.
Yeah, in a giant fireball.
Yep. And then Jennifer's like, okay, guess I'm going to the catacombs and rides the elevator.
Which I love how the only way to kill the little one is with the clock tower, but you know, I guess Dan's one weakness was fireball.
Which is a fairly normal weakness to have.
Yeah, I'm like, would that not have killed Scissor Man? Like shouldn't that kill anything?
No, it's only the clock tower. So you go in and then you end up defeating Bobby with the information, which you can get if Lot dies, but you have to get the information on the clock tower by finding a book somewhere that vaguely is like the clock tower, and then you can do what you need to do. So what happens is you go through this whole sequence where you're going up the clock tower, turning it on, trying to make everything work while running away from Bobby and Mary. And if you played your cards right and did not take too long or look in too many places, your friend will not be dead. They will actually you will find them at the end here. They'll join up with you after you take care of business and you'll escape. And that's the S
All of
ending.
my friends were dead.
Right. So yeah, if
My ending
Anna
was I was standing on the clock tower. like um
is standing on the clock tower, yeah, they can still die. By the way, if you don't take care of Mary correctly, you'll get ending A, where Mary will throw them off the tower.
oh
Uh,
my god.
Ending S
No,
is them
I
just being alive at the end.
yeah. I took care of Mary. But yeah, I was just standing on the tower looking out with the credits rolling and I'm like everybody's fucking dead. This is cool.
Yeah, no, the game was awesome, and electrocuting Mary was wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Mary comes out, and she's pissed because she's like, "You murdered my sons," and I'm like, "Fuck you, bitch! They were monsters."
They,
Um, and I don't know if there's more than one way to deal with her, but electrocution is the way that my playthrough went.
oh yeah, no, which is definitely fun. And if you do succeed in the S ending, which is a little different, is Bobby hears the bells, can't handle the sound, and falls into the gears of the tower. So what just happens is probably the sound's just too loud, and he loses footing and falls and dies. Um, and then you run over to Anne or Laura, whichever one is still alive, and you hear Mary from behind saying that she's a terrible daughter, and she chokes you from behind, triggering a panic. So then you have to mash, and if you mash correctly, a flock of crows comes in, including one of the crows that helped save Jennifer earlier in the game,
Which we
and
didn't talk about.
we totally should have. And I'm glad that these notes here bring that up. But they come and they just peck the shit out of Mary until she falls,
That's awesome.
which is pretty awesome. But you have a crow that helps you out during the whole
Yeah,
sequence.
yeah. Earlier in the game, there's a room where you can free a crow from a cage. I think,
Mhm.
and he'll save you from Scissor Man once. Um,
Yeah,
I assume
and
the crow you're talking about.
yeah, that is the crow, and which is very nice.
So it saved you from Scissor Man, and then it flew away and it got its friends and came back. That's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, it brought the posse.
Crow.
Told her
Good
that she
crow.
came to the wrong neighborhood.
I mean, crows are smart. That's why you don't keep a crow imprisoned against its will. When it gets out, it'll kill you
Yeah. Also, if you're nice to a crow, it will remember you and bring you little things.
or kill your enemies.
Also good. Murder is on Brian's mind tonight, which makes sense.
I'm tired. I'm sure the listeners can tell I am not as energetic as I normally am. It is like 8 p.m. on a Sunday, and I've had a long weekend of work.
I totally understand. And but we're not going to go into every single ending. S ending is you survive, friend is standing with you. A ending and B ending
I got B.
are your friends are dead, but
Yeah.
you're alive.
Which I read, and I don't know how this works because I don't know all the endings, but I read that 3 of these endings are canonical to the sequel. And then I guess the other uh, 6 or whatever are not.
Yeah, it's A, B, and C that are the ones that are considered the most likely to be canon.
So all your friends do die in canon.
Yes.
Okay. As it should be.
Yeah, and you have to remember to figure out that Mary wants to kill people because if you do not figure that out, you get ending D, which is where you go to the elevator and you trust her and walk up to her and she stabs you with a knife.
That's sad.
Yeah.
This does have the luckily it's not too long. There are a lot of rooms and the mansion feels big, but like with the guide this took me like an hour to get B ending. Um
Yeah.
I imagine, figuring all that out on your own, like, this you could spend hours and hours on this game, but because I was just thinking some of these spots where you can die later on, it would be frustrating to have to start over. But it's not that. And once you know where to go and what to do, it's, not going to be that bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty short little game. I did some speed running of it and you can do like you can do 20 minutes or 25 minutes pretty consistently like without a lot of stress. It's when you want to bring the time down further where RNG will actually mess you up and you get I think it's Scepter instead of Devil's Idol and you just reset because you're going to lose like 30 seconds. But
Freaking speedrunners.
I know.
um,
But yeah, that's pretty much how Clock Tower works. That we
so
went
you
through the
said
story and
that
everything.
you said that this is one of your favorite Super Nintendo games, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice. I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I don't know if I'll play more of it, but it does make me want to check out like the PlayStation remake, I guess, and then the sequels. And there's some ROM hacks. Like, there's a Clock Tower Deluxe that adds in some of the features from the PlayStation remake into the Super Nintendo version, and that I want to check out some of those.
Yeah, I definitely want to play some of those, and I want to because I still haven't gotten like ending G, for example, where you get in the car and get away after your friends die, but Jennifer quote unquote kills herself 3 days later because of depression, but in
Well,
reality,
that's
it
sad.
is actually Mary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the series creator in an interview confirmed that Mary was directly involved in killing Jennifer, but he did not explain how. And that's a lot of what's happening. You're like, why did they do this? Why are they doing that? He wanted to leave it up for interpretation.
Yeah, see, because I'm used to modern stories where everything's glorified, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's explanations. This is just like figure it out, but we're not gonna give you the information to figure it out. So just make assumptions.
And that's part of what makes really strong horror in general, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is pretty much all show don't tell.
I know, which is wonderful. And horror that lets you think about the problem or think about the things that are trying to kill you or why are they doing it is a lot stronger, in my opinion, than things that explain everything.
Yeah, I didn't even like uh, you immediately knew that these things were demons, but I didn't actually come to that conclusion as quickly as you. I just thought they were mutants, like deformed weirdos,
Yeah, part
because
of
that's what
that
your
is
dad's letter said. It was like they're deformed.
Yeah, part of that is piecing together that there's a satanic cult involved, and part of it is also getting the Simon route because he'll explain a little bit more. But after he's eaten his ham, it's wild to think that just a single piece of ham can keep somebody from starving to the point of wanting to eat another person. You know,
I
so
mean, people taste bad, and so does ham, but it tastes better than people.
ham is delicious. Turkey
Uh,
apologist.
I mean, holiday hams are delicious. Ham as a sandwich meat, not so much.
It's so much better than turkey. It's so
Oh,
much better as a sandwich meat.
We'll find an episode to argue about food on. We're gonna have to do like a food game.
We could put like I am bread on here or something. Getting...
Oh, speaking of games, I guess we have to choose a new game at the end of this, huh?
Oh, that's true. And we're actually speeding up the to that point. So let's go ahead and
I was gonna add more games to the list, but I have not yet. But that's fine. There's still like 90 something games on there.
there are a lot of lists. What other games did you want to...
That's a surprise, man.
Oh Lord. I
Equinox. I was gonna put Equinox on there.
Oh, Equinox. Okay. I guess that's a game that we can play. Oh Lord. That game is gonna I'm gonna die. But yeah, so before we get to that, let's go ahead and finish up talking about how we felt. So when I first played it, I was freaked out. I'm really easily scared. And Clock Tower to me is a game that is just really exemplifies what I think is good horror. Cerebral stuff, building up atmosphere. There are jump scares, but what makes Scissorman scary isn't that he just pops out of places, it's that he's constant, right?
Yeah,
He's
and
always there. Nothing is safe, and that's why the jumps get you because you're just it's so thick.
I was gonna say you said once you play it a few times, you kind of understand the system under his appearances, but I didn't get to that point. So yeah, I was just like, this guy can come out of a box, he can come out of a bathtub, he can come out of a closet. Like I can open a door and he's just there.
I know it's awesome, but I don't want to say too much more about it because I mean we already spoiled the heck out of it because that's what this
Yeah, I
podcast
mean,
does.
uh, as far like I said, I like it. Having played it now rather than back then, like the controls took some getting used to, and it's the movement speed frustrated me here and there. And of course, it has the kind of obtuseness that all that era's like point and click adventure puzzle stuff does. I don't think that's really a slight. I think if you don't like those kind of games, you probably won't like this. But if you do, if you have any affinity for point and click or horror, like this is an easy recommend.
Absolutely. And as I said, it's one of my favorite games. Just I love when something tries something like a very specific goal and they nail it. And in my opinion, Clock Tower is that. It didn't have a lot of money. Nobody thought it would work. Everybody told this person to stop. And he's like, I think this is a good idea. And does it. And in doing so, makes a game that does well in Japan. Would have done well here, in my opinion, if they actually brought it over. And started off a whole series. It's a great story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I could tell they must have not given him much money for advertising because in preparation for this, I dug through a bunch of video game magazines from 1995, and I could not find a single mention of this game. Like no ads, no nothing.
Oh, and Japanese ones? You didn't
Yeah,
find?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it reviewed well. Like I found some of the reviews, but as far as like just advertisements and previews and features and stuff like that, nothing.
Dang. Well, that could probably be part of why didn't get brought over here. They just didn't believe in it. The
But
fools.
apparently the series does take off after this and peaks, I guess, with 3. Um,
Some people have thoughts on three. It's very hokey. There's like magical girl stuff going on, but three is considered by a lot of people to be a very good game.
and maybe I would be fine with putting the rest of these on the list at some point. I'd be really
Absolutely.
mad if it picked it next, but
Well, luckily it's not there now. You ready to roll?
I am. All right, drum roll.
And Kotor.
Son of a bitch.
Do you want to do something that's not as long? We could roll. We could roll one more time.
No, 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 no. We have to believe in the heart of the cards, man.
Okay.
You have to trust RNG is on your side.
All right, so what I think we're going to do is we can talk about this off air, but this is not going to be a 1 week and then we're going to talk about all of KOTOR thing, folks. We're probably going to do 2 or 3 episodes of getting to a specific point in KOTOR and then talking about getting to that point.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say because I can try to like barrel my way through it, but the previous times I played KOTOR, it was not a short play because I'm generally not a short RPG player.
Yeah, and the game is not. The one time I played it, I was Sith, so I'm excited to see. I'll probably do a Jedi
Oh,
playthrough.
okay. Ah,
Oh, do you want to do a Sith playthrough?
no, I want to do a Jedi playthrough, and you should do a Sith playthrough.
Wait, but that's what we normally do. We should switch it up. You should do a Sith, and I should do a
Ah,
Jedi.
I'll do like a gray Jedi. I have such a hard time being a bad guy, man.
Oh, see, I just remember that I hate everything, and it makes it a lot easier. That those people that are supposedly good probably ripped somebody off or killed somebody without purpose at some point in their lives, and I'm just giving it back to them.
Wow. But yeah, I'm excited. We can play. It's on Steam, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's patches for like modernizing it to work with newer computers. Yeah, because I don't know if did that ever get an enhanced edition, like a
Well, they're working on a remake that is probably never going to come out
yeah, that's
now.
not gonna come out, and if it does, it'll be bad. But I
You
just didn't
don't
know.
know that. You do not know that. Negative Nancy.
I would I would bet on it.
Which is good because you're usually wrong about that, so that's fine.
I am not. But all right, so KOTOR, so Knights of the Old Republic. Hey, and this is kind of timely because right now, a lot of hype for Jedi Survivor coming out soon. So
Oh,
you know,
true.
and we've got like Bad Batch and Mandalorian season 3 going on. So it's Star Wars is still very relevant.
Bunch of Star Wars info. So with that, we know what we're going to play. We're going to get into it, and let's go ahead and tell everybody where they can find us.
Right here, next episode.
Hell yeah!
Hopefully with more enthusiasm. No, you can find me on Twitter and everywhere else as Brian C Nerd.
Excellent. And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch as Teeps the Great. Pretty easy to find. And as last episode, I will put our twits
Our
in the show
tweets.
notes.
I'll also be on another podcast. Actually, I don't know when it's being released, but I'm going to be on CRT Soundwaves episode.
I will also be on CRT Sound Systems.
That's it. Sound systems.
The
I
end of
need to go to
April.
sleep immediately after this recording.
That's fine. I also need to eat, so I'm totally down for ending this right now.
But yeah. Well, until next time.
Yeah. Until
Yeah.
next time, have a wonderful day, night, whatever it is when you listen to
M-
this. Try not to
May
be
all
killed.
your musings be misplaced, man. That's our catchphrase.
Yeah, may they all be misplaced, and may you not be killed by a short little creature with scissors.
Later.